Shadiversity.
Greetings, I'm Shad, and I've just received a very special package, and I've been a bit excited for this thing. So much so, I mean, I wasn't intending on making a video today, but when I got this, I was like, alright, absolutely, because I wanted to capture my reaction, my impressions of this wonderful new package, and also the very first Maiden shot. This thing has never been shot, and of course, you probably figured out, it's a new bow, but it's not just any bow. This bow is a very special one, with some very special qualities and features, which I will be happy to share with you. In fact, that's the point of this video. Now, as you might be able to tell, I'm wearing something new. Look at this, it's a cool new Gambeson as well. And just to give, I'm giving a few showers in this video. So the first one, I guess, is going to Steel Mastery for these cool new Gambesons. I've always wanted one that was, well, the option of being sleeveless or not, and was long, basically a quilted surcoat, and it was really hard to find this type of cut, but I found one on Steel Mastery, who also made my Brigandine, which I love as well. So they got great products, and you know, I bought this. Yeah, they provided one, and then I liked it so much I bought another two, because you probably see me wear the livery version, and that one I kept the sleeves on. This one, like all the sleeves on this one have the option of being sleeveless or on sleeve, and that's brilliant because I want that option to be able to go sleeveless to wear mail underneath, or maybe this over top and keep the mails showing and stuff, or full sleeve if it's going to be underneath, say, my Brigandine or something. Just fashion, all right, people? So anyway, yeah, it's pretty cool. And now, that's pretty cool, but the purpose of this video is taking out this thing. So, this bow is made by Ian Sturgis of Boston Bows. And I've not seen it at all. It's the first time. And I really should have brought a knife. Oh, sorry. Just get that reaction just from the look of the wood grain already. You seeing that? Ooh. So, what is different about this bow? First of all, it is essentially a Mary Rose replica. Okay, now the Mary Rose is a ship that sunk and was later recovered, and on it we have found many longbows. Okay, in fairly good condition. They have been studied, and that's where we get a lot of our information on. Well, it's funny, they're not actually medieval bows. They date to early Renaissance, depending on where you put those dates. But they are the closest point of reference we have to what medieval bows were like. Now, there's a couple of things that we can also learn, like for instance in medieval art, we see something very distinct that you'll see here. This is a yew bow, okay? And it's made, so what you'll see with the yew, you have the sapwood here and the heartwood here, two very distinct colors. Now, there's been some debate as to how much effect this gives, because this has got better, well, it does have better tensile, you know, strength, the sapwood here, which is good because that's the part that gets pressed out, and then the heartwood has better compressive strength. But I've also heard people say it's very little difference, and you could have a whole bow that's made out of heartwood and it's going to work just as well, and the improvement is so marginal, it's not very different. So if that's the case, it could have been done for the better added effect. I honestly don't know. These are just me repeating some of the information to you. But also, I think they did it because of the aesthetic. It just looks beautiful. You see this very distinct separation in colors, and we see that in medieval art that dates earlier to the Mary Rose finds. And so we know quite clearly that a lot of medieval warbows were made with yew, with the heartwood and sapwood combination like this. Now, there are other things that we've learnt about the the Mary Rose bows from studying them, and as to how much of these things that we've learnt dates the medieval period, it's very likely. We can't say for sure, and there might be certain differences. And as I've been diving into this kind of archery journey here on Shadiversity, which is the other reason I'm making this video, this is kind of the next stage in my archery journey, okay? Because this bow is a 120-pound draw. I have no idea if I'm even going to be able to pull this back. I'll go into more detail then when I'm getting ready and warming up for it to do the maiden shoot of this thing. So as I've been going into this archery journey, I've been learning more and more about medieval bows, what they're like, and it's a fascinating topic. In fact, the science that goes into bow making is really sophisticated and complex, far more than just a flexible piece of wood. It's comparable to the science that goes into swords, okay, where you have distal taper where it gets thinner towards the tip, but the distal tapering usually starts a bit further down the length of the blade so it flexes at the right way. The point of balance is very crucial. The cross-sectional geometry of the sword, the actual, weight distribution, and all these things are very complex and interesting things to make the most optimal sword possible. So the science of swords is really, really intriguing, but there seems to be just as much science and craftsmanship that goes into making bows as to how much they kind of taper towards the edges to get an even curve in the draw. The fact that usually the bottom limb is a bit thicker than the top limb, the types of nocks. And so this is where we get to some of the really interesting and honestly different elements about this bow specifically, because you have a kind of conventional nock where the string, just curves around here and then it's going to be going in a line down here. But there's another type of nock that we see on the Mary Rose finds, and it's called a side nock, where instead of having a line that goes around there, it goes on the side. But this isn't all. There's another interesting kind of thing that many people have discovered when studying the Mary Rose bows, and that is not all of them are perfectly straight. Now when I say that, of course they're meant to curve when you're shooting that way, but that the bow limbs, when facing this way, can sometimes curve to one side. Now, as to why this was done, there's a couple of different theories, and I'll share both with you. One is that it was a natural curve in the wood, and straightening it can be a very annoying process, and it doesn't affect arrow flight, and they can be used just as well. And so they just leave the natural kind of grain of the wood curve a little bit, and that's fine. The other theory is that it actually does affect arrow flight, and depending on the way that you shoot, it can help out. And we all know that I'm shooting in what is regarded an unconventional way, but when we look at medieval art, it's actually not that unconventional at all. It seems to be 50% of the art, just a very rough estimate, seems to show the arrow placed on the outside or over the thumb versus the inside. That's a lot. And I have beat that dead horse again and again to show to the critics and the skeptics that no, this art is very, very reliable. And the more, time goes on, the more references I actually find. Like, check out this artwork right here, where the arrow is on the outside, but more specifically, have a look at what the thumb is doing. Now, a while back I made a whole video debunking the claim that you can't shoot on the outside of the bow because it'll fall off, and I said the easy way to fix it is just to hold your thumb up to cradle it. Well, since that time, I've found medieval artwork showing the thumb up to hold the arrow on that side of the bow, and this artwork specifically is one of the most detailed, clearly depicted, artworks showing that thumb raised, with, of course, a longbow as well. And this should put at rest any claim that it was an artistic mistake, because if it was an artistic mistake, why is it being depicted that the thumb is being raised to cradle the arrow against the shaft so you can shoot on that side? That's not a mistake. It is 100% intentional, so much so that they're actually showing the techniques and styles that enable you to shoot that way. So hopefully that argument that if it was done in the past should be debunked, okay? It's very likely it was. Will I say definitively? We didn't live there, and that's actually, you can't really say definitively in the conventional way as well. You might say, look at all these references. Well, there's just as much references to the other side. But anyway, we can get an idea that it's very, very likely they shot this way. And so if shooting this way, well, turns out different bows shoot differently, funnily enough, and they're all affected by these very fine, specific, elements in how they're made, okay? how they loose, how quickly they release the tension, the path of the string, and also how the string rests when it's strung. So all these things have a very significant effect on arrow flight. And one of the things that I've been trying to figure out is what are the things that help this style of shooting on the outside versus not. And so when I contacted Ian, I talked to him saying, I want to experiment with a couple of different, things in the bow itself to see if it will assist in arrow flight. And one of the first things that I was talking about is having the string off center. So instead of resting dead center down the shaft when it's strung, it'll actually rest to one side, specifically the side in which I'm shooting to help arrow clearance. And yeah, absolutely, especially because some of these Mary Rose bows actually had the curve. That means the string would sit off center. This is an absolute historical fact that this was done because we have the evidence for it. We have the Mary Rose bows right there. Do I know if it'll help my style shooting? No idea. And so this is going to be a fairly expensive experiment. We're not going to know definitively from this video right here because I don't even know if I can shoot this thing yet. I need to practice with it, build up strength, become more competent, because even if I will be able to draw this thing, I'm not going to be steady. It's going to be a strain to hold it, and that's going to affect arrow clearance massively. So do not take, unless it's perfect, you're thinking, I might be, and then hopefully that'll just continue and be that well. I'll just have to remember what I'm doing, but we will see, won't we? Oh, gee, I can feel that. So already, that is far more resistant than the bow I'm used to. I'm not going to try and draw this yet. I need to warm up, okay? First things first. So first off, you'll see the side knock. See how that works right there? So it's sitting like so. Sitting off center. I'm excited, but like I said, first I need to warm up. Shooting, heavier bows is really, really fun. It's like it's a workout, you get to points where it's heavier and you can see your progress in a very tangible way, like we're drawing. Now, this is the other thing that why I might not be able to do this in this session, is that I haven't shot for a couple of weeks because I pulled a tendon in my finger. So people have always warned of injury, which is always very, valid and good thing to caution people with. Just be careful. And they've always accused me that I might injure myself shooting this way, when no, I haven't. The only injury I've ever received in this whole journey is in my finger, this finger specifically, because I was doing it too much, overstrained and tendon. So letting that heal and rest, and it's getting to a point where I think it's good now. Or at the very least I'll be able to shoot a little bit without aggravating it, because like I said, several weeks healing rest. So now warm up these muscles. Oh, gee, that feels easier than, and like I said, I haven't shot it in like 2 weeks or more. That was probably the easiest I've drawn this thing. And so I'm going to be doing different drawing. So that's a low up draw, which usually is more strain. This is the easy one. This is one I'll be trying first. And so, do you remember when I first got this bow? Let's put it up here, how difficult it was for me to draw this. And now it's cake. Like this is my beginning warm up one. I don't even need to warm up to, this is my warm up one now. So that's pretty cool. But we're jumping 20 pounds. From 100 pounds to 120 with this next one. So I have a feeling I might be able to pull it, but I'm not sure if I'll be able to draw it with an arrow and loose with it yet. But anyway, I'm going to do a couple more reps, rest, let my arms warm up, then we're going to try the big one. And so this bow here specifically is straightforward, okay? It is completely straight, there's no sideways wobble, and it's not actually properly authentic because it is laminated. See how it's made out of separate bits of wood? It's not a single bit of wood, which technically is not a self bow. A self bow, I believe, is a bow that is just a single piece of wood. That's it, which this new one is. And also, have a look at the massive difference in girth, okay, between these bows. That is a huge difference. So arrow clearance on this is going to be really interesting because look how thick it is, okay? The arrow needs to get past this, and I'm not even sure like properly weighted arrows you know, using the archer's paradox will enable it to curve around the bow because it's just so darn thick. The other thing is, historically, arrows were rarely weighted to the bows because we know they were issued like in sheaths. They would get an arrow sheath on the battlefield, like just from a wagon, okay, randomly, which means they couldn't have been calibrated to the bow you had. Sometimes the bow was even issued by the king if you're going to war. And so basically means no matter what side you're shooting on, in a historical medieval context, you're going to get arrow contact with the shaft no matter what. I've had this confirmed with warbow archers as well, by the way. They said, you know, you're going to be getting arrow contact no matter what you do. But as to how much, well, gosh, look how thick this thing is. This is a big shaft for the arrow to get around, which is going to be a big change between my last bow, this one, and my big one, my new one. Would you believe it that I'm still having arguments online with people about this? The most recent one was that this inverse tilt causes the shoulder to lean outwards, which puts it in a dangerous position, higher chance to cause injury. And I've been trying to tell them, no, when you lean it this way, the shoulder doesn't move. Like if you look really closely, leaning this way, the shoulder is perfectly aligned still. Now, if I went like that, yeah, maybe they'd have a point. I don't know, because I wouldn't shoot that way because it hurts, right? It doesn't feel good. And so you can tilt it that way, one, by leaning back, okay, just by, look at that, I'm not moving my arm at all, exact same alignment. And if you want further tilt, just on the wrist, and look at the level of lean, and this is still with perfect shoulder alignment, and you can draw it back, easy, not a problem. And in the very first video, when you saw me shooting on the outside, and you see me doing this, like that, with the bow always tilted that way, shoulder is perfectly fine. Set right to take a heavy load, okay? So, all right, getting there. I'm a little nervous, right? Yeah. So, I'm not gonna put my all into it first. This is a calibration one just to see, all right, how much resistance is in this thing to begin with, okay? So, 120 pound, historically authentic, Mary Rose replica bow. Now, when I say it leans to one side, okay, that's made for my style shooting, but technically this would be basically identical for a bow that was built to favor a left-handed archer shooting a conventional way, okay? Having the string, you know, pulled to one side, same thing. So, all right. Ooh, 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 ooh. All right, all right. Warmed up. Oh. So, going to a new weight, I'm easing myself into it bit by bit. So I'm not pushing everything yet because, as I mentioned, there is a risk of injury no matter what you're doing, weightlifting or anything. This is essentially weightlifting, right? And so if you're pushing yourself to a new weight that you're not accustomed to, do it bit by bit, feeling if there's strain in certain muscles before you push yourself too hard, because if there is certain strain in certain areas and you push yourself too hard, you're gonna injure yourself, okay? And that doesn't matter which way you shoot, that's gonna happen, right? I find it so interesting that people claim that if there is an injury on shooting on this side, that was specifically because of this style, that you shouldn't shoot that way, when there has been so many countless injuries on shooting on that side. And do people blame it to that style? They say, well, shooting heavy bows is dangerous, which it can be, no matter which way you shoot. And this way, in my experience, no greater risk of injury than shooting the conventional way. I shoot both at the moment, just to get a comparison, and not a problem. All right, so, oh yeah, okay. Oh, I'm not sure I'll be able to pull it. I reckon I'll get it to here. I'm not gonna be able to do full draw on this yet. I'm gonna have to train up, because I tell you what, the weight ramps up when I reach about here on this thing. I'll keep doing it. I'll keep, you know, practicing, pushing myself a bit further and further. I am like feeling a little, you know, hesitant here to see if maybe by the end of this video I'll be able to do a full draw. But if not, I've got some working out to do, right? And you know, if you're wondering why aren't I weighing it, my weigh scales are broken, so I don't have anything to weigh it. So I'm going off Ian's, you know, measurements and weight. He weighs it, of course, when making it. That's 120 pounds at my draw length. And I'll weigh it as well just to confirm if my draw length varies that at all. But 120 pounds is a very, reliable estimate for the weight of this bow at the moment. And of course, again, Austin bows, Ian Sturgis, just from, I don't know how it shoots yet, but just looking at it, this is beautiful. And these type of bows have character. Do you see the kind of the bumps that it has just from the natural wood grain? Beautiful. Love it. So thick. The girth of this. Have a look at the girth. That's why, it's because yew is actually a less dense wood, I believe. And as a result, to get the draw weight generally needs to be thicker. Because, again, less dense. Oh. Oh. Don't think I'm going to be able to do it, guys. So just compare it, right? Going back down to the 100 pound. That's cake. Cake in comparison. So, 20 pounds is a bit of a leap. I do need to at least shoot it. It won't be a full draw shoot. Maybe about there is the length I'm getting it to, which is probably 100 pound on this bow, honestly, which makes sense. Maybe I might be getting to 105, maybe 110, but that last bit. So, have these, war arrows. They shoot very inconsistently. Now, is that a good thing, bad thing? Well, the arrows of the medieval period most likely shot very inconsistently as well. These ones are made for 100 pound. They should shoot fine on 120, especially because I'm not full drawing it, but I think I'm going to need some top tier arrows now to match this beautiful bow. So I might need to go to Will Sherman and get him to make me some beautiful, authentic medieval arrows. Will Sherman is a craftsman that makes the arrows you see on, say, Todd's workshop. His lockdown longbow videos, love him, mate. Holding an arrow on is completely different, by the way, when you're straining to pull something back. So it's funny, like when I got to full draw on my 100 pound bow, it still took me about a week or more to be able to do the same draw with an arrow on. Because it's just, I don't know, you need to rest the arrow right, hold it more steady, and so because of that, it just takes a bit more strength, honestly. But anyway, let's go. I'm gonna do, now this one should be interesting. Oh gosh. I'm unco on this side, by the way. Now I am, but... Oh. Way more strain on my shoulder then. I think it's because you might possibly just get used to shooting on a certain style, certain way. They're shooting straight. They are shooting straight, which is a very good sign. So I'm seeing less arrow wobble. And no, I'm not bothered aiming right now. Right, I'm just shooting. So anyway, all right, I'll rest a bit, do one last few pulls, and I got to do the maiden shot with this one. We're going to see more of this bow. I think I need to name it. My last one was my lovely. That was the name of that bow. What should I name this one? Actually, I might have been holding the bow upside down. I'm looking at it. It's like this limb might be thicker, and that's the side the string is resting on. You work out the kinks as you go. Anyway, I'll shoot that and just see if I fly any better. The string would be upside down then, if that's the case. But I'm looking at it, and the string sits further to this side and there. Trying to find the middle point of it. Middle point of the bow is right there. So. But a couple of last ones now. So anyway, there we go. Been a lot of fun. Really looking forward to, training more and then testing this baby out fully, working out all the things. I'm half tempted to try and get my hands on a slow motion camera to really see what's going on with the arrow flight in regards to this bow, and also the style in which you shoot. Maybe I'll have to find where I can get one, and that'll be some really interesting stuff. So thank you for watching. I just wanted to share this moment with you, the next stage, I guess, in my archery, journey, medieval archery journey. Thank you for watching, and of course I look forward to seeing you in the next video. So until then, farewell.